KTN News.
Hello and welcome back. Now, for those of you joining us on KTN Home, welcome aboard. It is 6 a.m. here in Nairobi and 4 a.m. in London, where a massive fire has engulfed Greenfell Towers in West London. This morning, Express, I am Michael Gitonga. We'll start off, first of all, with our night reporter, Brian Obuya, who is now at the shelter where people who were evacuated from the collapsed building in Embakasi are taking shelter. Brian, how is the condition of the temporary facility?
Well, right, Mike, and as you've rightly reported, we're coming to you from that temporary shelter from a school just known as Ejapenifa in Kimondo, Kware area, where those tenants who were victims of that building that collapsed Monday night are taking shelter. Now, you will realize that tenants from the neighboring building were taken to a different other building just some few meters away. And if we are just able to move around, Timon, you'll find out that this is one of the tents that the Kenya Red Cross was using and will be using during the day. Inside this tent, there are mothers and children whom at least they have the luxury of mattresses to help them have a sleep. But there are those, of course, who do not really have that luxury. Inside this tent, there are mothers and children who are given a priority, but over this other end, there are those who do not exactly have that luxury of mattresses, some of them having struggled to have some sleep. So we are putting our voices down not to distract them, and even I see our lights are distracting them, Timon, so we would rather just come back to this other end. So that is the situation here, Mike, as it is. And you realize, again, if I just have to remind you of what we saw on the other end, the rescue operations are not currently taking place. They were halted at about 10 p.m. when we were coming live from this area. So again, there are those who do not have the luxury of having a better facility. You will remember that yesterday the Nairobi County government officials, the governor, Dr. Evans Kidero, and his deputy Mweke were here, and they pledged 10,000 shillings to the families. Yeah, we will be looking forward to see how that one helps the families out. The rescue operations will be continuing today, probably as from 7:30 a.m. according to what we hear. But those who are on the ground told us they have been very green on any information of what will be happening. But those who took over from the National Disaster Management Unit officials who were able to speak to us tell us that they'll be having a briefing at 9. So we have not been able to secure an interview with them, probably to just tell us how this will be going on. If you remember from our earlier on briefing whereby we were talking to you, Mike, there were a number of other officials on the ground on the scene. We had members of the National Youth Service, over 70 of them are on standby, a number of ambulances from the Kenya Red Cross. We've had different other ambulances from the Nairobi County. We've had members of the Kenya Defense Forces who are pitching camp here, but nothing definitely taking place. The earth movers, the excavators are lying down on the ground. And yesterday during the day, like I had told you earlier on, Mike, two members of the National Youth Service were injured in the progressive rescue missions that were taking place, and one of them was injured during the night. All of them rushed to hospital. And probably just a recap of what we've had in these rescue operations, just to give you a recap of it, is that a woman was rescued from the rubble, but she succumbed to her injuries later on. You will also want to remember that some two children were actually rescued, one of them being 1 or 3 years old and a 6-year-old were rescued from the rubble, currently receiving treatment at the Kenyatta National Hospital. In the morning yesterday, we had a confusion on where they were going to be taken before the they decided to take them to the Kenyatta National Hospital. Remember, the striking nurses strike is the biting nurses strike has affected the entire situation, especially keeping in mind that a number of hospitals, nurses have downed their tools. Also remember that one of the children who was rescued from the rubble, who was actually recovered from the rubble, lost his life. All these 4 members who were rescued are members of the same family. Just this morning, there has been some 2 parents who have arrived here. They just came in from their rural home and coming to check on their family. We will be giving you an update of what they find out, looking very traumatized. So, Mike, this is the situation right here on the ground at this specific primary school that is under construction, being used as a temporary shelter for those who are victims of that building that went down on Monday night. And we'll be giving you details as they unfold, for the whole story continues with us right here on the ground. Back to you, Mike.
Thank you very much, Brian, our night reporter, Brian Obuya there, just bringing us reports. And Brian, maybe just before we let you go, the question here being whether there is food supplies, or maybe he's already been let go, but that's okay. Well, he is at the shelter. Okay, there we have him. Brian, do we have any food and supplies that is being given to those possibly who've been given shelter after the collapse of the building?
Mike, we can't really say that these people have been given shelter, but it looks like they have just found this place as the most available to them, because we have not seen, and those who have talked to, there has not been any supply of food or any supply of any other thing to help them cope with the night situation. Like I told you, there are only a few mothers and children who have the luxury of blankets and mattresses who are given priority. But some of them don't really have that luxury. Nothing at all. Remember, everything in the building that went down on Monday night, everything in that building, nothing was recovered from it. At least the neighboring building, whereby members of it were allowed to pick out their stuff, and they were allowed, or also provided with another flat by the same landlord of the same building, who owns another flat elsewhere up there, and they were given that building to cater for their night. But for these ones whom we have here on the ground, we realize that some of them were found shelter in different homes of their neighbors, but of course they all couldn't be accommodated by their friends and neighbors in different other areas.